Children of the cosmic storm.
The sky above the planet Arivor was a wild painting of colors no one had ever seen. Swirling storms of neon blue and violet lightning danced across the horizon, tearing through clouds thick with silver dust. In the quiet villages beneath, people whispered of the cosmic storm, an eternal tempest that had haunted their world for generations. Among the villagers, a boy named Kael stared at the sky with wide, unblinking eyes. He was 15, thin and wiry, with dark hair that whipped around his face in the storm winds. His grandmother, Lira, had told him stories about the children of the storm, those born during the fiercest cosmic tempests, who carried within them powers no ordinary human possessed. Kael didn't know if he was one of those children, but he had always felt different. He could sense the electricity in the air, could hear the faint hum of energy that seemed to pulse through the soil beneath his feet. When the storms raged, he would run outside, arms spread wide, feeling alive in a way no one else could. That night, the storm was fiercer than ever. Lightning struck the cliffs overlooking the village, splitting rocks and sending showers of sparks into the blackened sky. Kael could feel something stirring inside him, a heat in his chest that made his skin tingle. "Kael," Lira called from the doorway.
"Stay inside.
"Don't go near the cliffs."
But Kael couldn't stop himself.
Something drew him, a voice in the storm whispering his name. He ran toward the edge, the wind tearing at his clothes, lightning reflecting in his wide, curious eyes. Then, a bolt struck the ground nearby. Instead of burning him, it seemed to bend, twisting around him in a protective arc. Kael fell to his knees, breathless and trembling. The air around him shimmered, and when he looked down, his hands were glowing faintly blue, like the heart of the storm itself. He didn't understand what had happened, but deep inside, he knew one thing: he was not like the others. He was one of the children of the cosmic storm, and his life, and the life of Arivor, was about to change forever. The next morning, the village elders gathered in a tense meeting. Rumors of Kael's encounter had already spread. Some feared him, others were in awe. But one voice, calm and unwavering, stood out. "He is the one we have awaited," said Elder Tovis, his eyes reflecting the stormy skies. "The cosmic storm chooses its children carefully. Kael may hold the key to the survival of our people." Kael, still unsure of what he could do, listened silently. Deep down, he felt a mix of fear and excitement. For the first time, he sensed a purpose beyond the small, simple village life he had known. That evening, Lira took Kael aside. "Your gift is not a curse, child," she said softly. "It is a responsibility. The storms are not just weather. They are alive. They test, they judge, and they call upon those who can shape the fate of Arivor." Kael looked at her, determination settling in his chest. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew he had to face it. For the storms, for the village, and for the children yet to be born into the cosmic winds, he would find his strength. And somewhere, high above the clouds, the cosmic storm raged on, whispering secrets that only Kael could hear. The morning after Kael's encounter with the storm, the village felt different. The air was thick with tension, and whispers followed him wherever he went. Children peered at him with wide eyes, and even the adults seemed unsure whether to fear or revere him. Kael couldn't sleep. The glow in his hands from the night before had faded, but he could still feel the energy thrumming beneath his skin. It was a soft, constant pulse, like the heartbeat of the storm itself. He decided to visit the cliffs again, despite Lyra's warnings. He needed to understand. Standing at the edge, he closed his eyes and lifted his hands. The wind picked up, whipping through his hair, and the faint hum returned. He took a deep breath and focused on the sensation, trying to pull it closer, to shape it. Suddenly, lightning split the sky, and this time, it didn't strike near him. Instead, it curled in midi, forming a jagged circle that hovered over his head.
Kael gasped.
He could feel it responding to him, bending to his will, or at least to the will of whatever part of him was meant to command it. A voice, faint and distant, drifted through the roar of the storm. "Child of the cosmic storm, awaken." Kael stumbled back, heart racing. The voice was neither male nor female. It was something old, something alive. His mind raced. Was this the storm speaking? Or was it something more? He didn't have time to ponder. From the village, a scream rang out. Kael turned to see smoke rising from the lower fields. He ran toward it, the energy in his hands flaring again, giving him a strange, almost weightless speed. The source of the smoke was the granary. Flames leapt high, fueled by strong winds. Villagers shouted and scrambled,
trying to fight the blaze.
Kael reached forward instinctively, and the storm energy responded. Blue arcs shot from his fingertips, twisting the fire back into itself, snuffing out the flames.
The villagers stared in awe.
Some whispered prayers, others muttered curses. Kael, breathing hard, realized that the power inside him was more than a curiosity. It was real, and it could protect them, or destroy them. Later, in the safety of Lira's cottage, Kael tried to process the events. "You are stronger than you realize," Lira said, her voice calm but firm.
"But strength alone is not enough.
The storm chooses you for a reason. Something is coming, Kael. Something beyond the villages, beyond the mountains, something that will challenge everything we know."
Kael nodded, though fear gnawed at him.
"I don't even know what I can do yet," he admitted. "That is why you must learn," Lira said. She opened a chest and pulled out an old, weathered book. Its cover shimmered with a faint, storm-like glow. "This belonged to your mother.
She too was a child of the storm, though she vanished long before you were born. Study this. It will guide you. But beware, the path of the storm is not kind.
It tests, it tempts, it demands."
Kael took the book carefully.
The pages were filled with strange symbols, diagrams of lightning and energy, and words that seemed to hum as he read them. As he traced the shapes with his fingers, a spark leapt from the page into his palm, and the book whispered again. "Awaken, child, awaken."
Days passed, and Kael trained in secret.
He learned to summon small arcs of lightning, to feel the currents of the storm moving around him, and to channel them in precise ways. The village still watched him with a mix of fear and hope, but Kael no longer cared. He had a purpose now, and the storm called him relentlessly. Then, one evening, as the sun sank behind the violet clouds, a new threat appeared on the horizon. A massive, swirling vortex descending from the heart of the storm.
It wasn't natural.
The energy radiating from it was dark, twisted, and alive.
Kael's heart pounded. The voice came again, louder this time.
"They are coming, the shadows of the void. Only the children of the storm can stand against them."
Lira placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are ready, Kael. Or at least, you will be, when the time comes. But remember, the storm is not just power, it is life. Listen to it, and it will guide you.
Ignore it, and it will consume you." Kael clenched his fists, feeling the energy surge through him. For the first time, he understood the weight of his destiny.
The children of the cosmic storm were not just legends.
They were the last hope against a force that could swallow the world whole. And the shadows of the void were coming faster than anyone could imagine. The next morning, Kael stood on the cliffs, staring at the dark vortex hovering over the distant mountains. The village below seemed small and fragile, like a toy against the swirling chaos of the storm. Every instinct screamed at him to stay, to protect the people he loved, but he knew deep down that staying would be futile. The shadows of the void were coming, and they would not wait. Lira approached quietly, her eyes heavy with worry but shining with pride. "The storm will guide you, Kael, but you cannot face this alone. There are others, children born of the storm, scattered across Arivor.
Some may help you.
Others may not be ready to trust you."
Kael's stomach knotted.
"Where do I even start? How will I find them?" Lira handed him a small, crystal pendant that glowed faintly with the same blue energy as his hands. "This belonged to your mother.
It will resonate with the other children.
Follow its light, and it will lead you to them. But beware, the shadows can sense the children as well. They will try to stop you before you even meet them." Kael gripped the pendant tightly. The hum of the storm pulsed through him, steady and reassuring. For the first time, he felt a sense of direction.
He was no longer just a boy.
He was a protector, a warrior of the storm, and the fate of his world rested on his shoulders. As he stepped into the windswept paths leading from the village, Kael felt the energy around him grow stronger. The pendant glowed brighter, tugging him toward the east, where the mountains cut jagged silhouettes against the violet sky.
The journey was treacherous.
The storm raged constantly, lightning crackling through the air, forcing Kael to run and leap over jagged rocks and fallen trees. Yet, every time fear gripped him, the energy in his hands surged, lending him strength and speed. He could feel the storm teaching him, shaping him, testing him. 2 days into his journey, he encountered the first of the other children. She appeared without warning, standing on a ridge above a river, her silver hair whipping around her face in the gale. Her eyes glowed with a soft, amber light, and in her hands, she held arcs of fire that danced and twisted like living serpents. "You must be Kael," she said, her voice strong, confident. "The pendant led you here." Kael nodded, wary.
"Who are you?" "I am Sira," she replied.
"Child of the cosmic storm, like you. I've been waiting for the others to awaken. The shadows of the void are moving faster than we thought. If we do not unite, everything will fall." Kael felt a rush of relief.
He was not alone. There were others like him.
Together, maybe they could face the coming darkness. Sira extended her hand.
"Come. I will teach you what I have learned."
"You have power, yes, but it is raw. You must control it, or the storm will consume you." Over the next several days, Kael trained with Sira. She taught him to harness the lightning within, to shape it into weapons, shields, even berries of pure energy. They practiced in the middle of the storm, letting the wind and rain lash against them as they moved in rhythm with the cosmic currents. But even as Kael grew stronger, the shadows of the void were drawing closer. Strange creatures began to emerge from the dark vortex, shadowy forms that moved with terrifying speed. They consumed everything in their path, leaving behind a cold, empty silence. One night, as Kael and Sira rested beneath the cliffs, the pendant glowed violently. A voice whispered, this time sharper, more urgent. "The children must gather.
The storm is incomplete without them.
Seek the northern peaks."
Sira's eyes widened.
"The northern peaks, that is where the oldest children are said to dwell. If we can reach them, we may have a chance to unite all the children of the storm before the shadows reach Arivor." Kael felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, heavier than ever before.
But there was no turning back.
The storm had chosen him, and the children were counting on him. With Sira by his side and the pendant guiding them, Kael took a deep breath and began the journey northward. The winds howled like ancient spirits, the lightning slicing across the sky, and somewhere in the distance, the shadows of the void crept closer, waiting, hungry, relentless. Kael's adventure was only beginning. The journey northward was harsh. Jagged cliffs tore at their boots, and fierce winds threatened to knock Kael and Sira from the paths that clung to the mountainside. The pendant glowed steadily, guiding them like a beacon through the unrelenting storm. Days passed, and the storm's energy around them grew stronger. The air crackled with electricity, and the ground hummed beneath their feet. Kael felt his powers becoming sharper, more precise. He could now summon arcs of lightning with intention, forming shields, spears, and even brief currents to propel him across gaps. Sira's fire danced alongside his lightning, and together, they were beginning to feel unstoppable. But the shadows of the void were never far behind. One evening, as twilight bled into the violet storm clouds, they came upon a ruined valley, blackened and silent. Trees had been twisted into grotesque shapes, and the earth itself was scorched. In the center of the destruction, shapes moved, dark, featureless beings that shimmered like smoke. "They are here," whispered Sira, her amber eyes glowing bright. "We have to fight, or they will consume everything before we reach the northern peaks."
Kael's heart pounded, but he nodded.
He raised his hands, feeling the storm energy pulse violently in response. Lightning danced along his arms, forming jagged, razor-sharp spears. Sira's fire coiled around her fingers, bright and burning, ready to strike.
The shadows surged forward.
Kael struck first, hurling a bolt of lightning that split one of the creatures in two. It dissolved into a black mist, but more took its place, flowing like liquid shadow toward them. Sira unleashed a ring of fire, creating a barrier that held the creatures at bay.
But there were too many.
Kael realized that raw power alone would not be enough. He closed his eyes, reaching deeper into the storm, feeling its rhythms, its heartbeat. Slowly, he learned to move with it rather than against it, guiding the lightning in fluid arcs that struck with precision.
The shadows faltered under their combined attack.
Kael noticed a pattern. Each strike of lightning or fire caused them to weaken if they were hit at the right rhythm. It was as if the storm itself was teaching him, guiding him to the perfect timing. Hours passed in the battle, though it felt like minutes. Exhausted but alive, Kael and Sira finally watched the last of the shadows dissolve into nothingness. The valley lay quiet once more, though scarred from the encounter. "We're getting closer," Sira said, her voice calm but tense.
"The northern peaks are not far. But Kael, it will only get harder. The shadows are stronger the closer we get to the oldest children. They know who we are."
Kael nodded, determination setting in. "Then we keep moving."
We can't let fear stop us.
The next day, they arrived at a hidden valley nestled between two towering peaks. There, carved into the mountains, were ancient ruins that glowed faintly with storm energy. Kael felt a pull stronger than ever. The pendant flared, signaling that they had reached a place of great importance. From the ruins emerged two figures, tall and imposing, their eyes glowing with storm energy like Kael and Sira's. One had silver hair like Sira, but older, her presence radiating calm authority. The other was broad-shouldered, with storm-blue eyes that seemed to crackle with latent power. "You have come," said the silver-haired figure, her voice melodic yet commanding. "The storm has guided you here, and the time has come for the children to unite." Kael stepped forward, heart racing. "We are ready. We want to fight the shadows, but we don't know how many there are, or if we can stop them." The blue-eyed figure smiled faintly. "Strength lies not only in power, Kael, but in unity. Alone, a child of the storm is strong.
Together, we are a force that can shape worlds.
But you must learn to trust the storm, and each other." As Kael listened, he felt a surge of hope.
The journey had only begun, but he was no longer alone. The children were gathering. The storm was guiding them.
And the shadows of the void, terrifying as they were, would not find the children unprepared. High above the peaks, the storm raged, more violent and alive than ever. And in its heart, the children of the cosmic storm would forge their destiny. The hidden valley beneath the northern peaks became their sanctuary. The ruins hummed with storm energy, and every wall, every stone seemed alive with ancient power. Kael and Sira were joined by the two elder children, Lira, the silver-haired one, and Thalen, the broad-shouldered boy whose storm-blue eyes radiated raw strength. Together, they began the work of training, of learning to harness the storm not just as individuals, but as a united force. The days were grueling.
Kael had never known exhaustion like this.
Each dawn, they woke beneath the electric skies, practicing hours on end. Lightning, fire, wind, and even tremors of the earth itself were summoned, shaped, and honed. They learned to combine their powers, creating shields of storm and fire, currents that could lift them high above the mountains, or strike down enemies with devastating precision. "You are strong," Lira said one afternoon, her voice calm but commanding.
"But strength without control is dangerous.
You must listen to the storm, feel it flowing through you, and trust it. Let it guide your power, not your fear." Kael nodded, sweat dripping from his brow.
He was beginning to understand.
The storm wasn't just energy, it was alive, aware, and patient. It tested them, but it also taught them. Even as they trained, danger was never far.
The shadows of the void were advancing.
Strange omens appeared. The rivers turned black, distant villages disappeared beneath creeping darkness, and the winds carried whispers of a void that consumed all life. One evening, as the children rested, the pendant around Kael's neck pulsed violently. A voice whispered through the storm, urgent and commanding, "They come, the vanguard of the shadows. Prepare, children, all is lost."
Kael's heart raced. "How many are there?" he asked, gripping the crystal pendant.
"I do not know," Thalen said, his fists glowing with electricity. "But they are powerful, and they know we are here. We must be ready for anything." The next day, the storm above the peaks thickened, the skies darkening with unnatural energy. The first of the Shadow Vanguard appeared, tall, menacing figures that moved like smoke yet struck like steel. They descended upon the valley, relentless and merciless.
Kael and the children moved as one.
Lightning clashed with shadows, fire met darkness, and the earth itself rose in waves beneath their command. Kael felt the storm surge inside him, flowing not just as raw power but as guidance. He could sense the rhythm of the shadows, their movements, their weaknesses. Every strike became precise, coordinated with the other children.
For hours, the battle raged.
The shadows were many, but the children fought with unity, their powers intertwined, each movement anticipating the next. Kael felt a strange exhilaration. The storm had chosen them not just to survive, but to lead.
Finally, the last of the vanguard dissolved into black mist.
The valley lay battered but intact. The children stood together, breathing heavily, sweat and rain mixing on their skin. "You have done well," Lira said softly, pride in her eyes.
"But this is only the beginning. The shadows will not stop. They will grow stronger.
And beyond them lies the heart of the storm, where the final battle will be fought." Kael's gaze lifted to the swirling vortex in the distance, darker and larger than before. Fear tried to creep in, but he pushed it aside.
He wasn't alone.
He had Lira, Lyra, Thalen, and soon, he hoped, all the other children.
Together, they would stand against the darkness. Thalen clapped a hand on Kael's shoulder.
You have the spark, Kael. Don't forget, it's not just about power.
It's about courage.
And right now, courage is what we will need more than anything. As night fell, lightning danced across the sky, illuminating the peaks in fleeting brilliance. Kael looked at the storm above and whispered, almost to himself, I am ready. We are ready. And somewhere in the shadows, the vanguard's defeat was noted, and the heart of the void pulsed with dark anticipation. The storm had chosen its children, and the war for Arivor's fate had truly begun. The day after the vanguard's defeat, Kael and the other children gathered at the highest peak of the northern valley. From there, they could see the heart of the storm, a massive swirling vortex of violet, blue, and black energy that pulsed with an almost sentient rhythm. Lightning shot out like fingers, grasping at the land, and the shadows moved beneath it like a tide of darkness, spreading and retreating in patterns too complex to follow. This is it, Lira said softly, her silver hair glowing in the stormlight.
Beyond that storm lies the source.
If we cannot reach it, the shadows will consume everything. But it is not just a battle of power, it is a battle of understanding. The storm itself is alive, and it will test us in ways we cannot yet imagine. Kael stared at the vortex, feeling the hum of energy through the soles of his feet. He felt fear, yes, but also excitement. Every beat of the storm seemed to call to him, promising power, purpose, and destiny. Lira stepped forward, her fire coiling around her fingers like a living creature. We have trained, we have fought, but we are still learning.
The shadows are cunning.
They will not come at us in simple waves. They will try to divide us, exploit our doubts, and use the storm against us. We must trust each other completely.
Kael nodded.
Then we moved together. No hesitation.
The journey toward the heart of the storm began that night.
Lightning split the skies, thunder rolled like distant drums, and the wind tore at their clothes and hair. The shadows appeared quickly, rising from the mountains like rivers of black smoke. Kael felt the energy in his hands surge instinctively, arcs of lightning forming and dancing around him. Lira's fire flared, and together with Thalen and Lyra, they cut a path forward. The shadows were more than mere creatures. They were cunning, shaping themselves into forms that mirrored the children, mocking them, trying to confuse them. Kael froze as one of the shadows took the shape of him, down to the glow of his hands. It hissed, voice distorted. You cannot stop us. You are alone.
Kael clenched his fists.
The storm surged in response, and he realized that it was not just power, it was awareness. The storm could feel his fear, and it would not let him succumb. He focused, grounding himself in the rhythm of the winds and lightning. The shadow mirrored his movement, and when Kael struck with pure intention, lightning arced from his hands, scattering the shape into mist. That's it.
Lira shouted. Don't let them trick you. They feed on doubt.
As they ascended, the terrain became more treacherous. Mountain paths twisted impossibly, jagged cliffs seemed to move with the storm, and dark energy pulses shot from the vortex, testing their endurance.
Yet every challenge strengthened them.
The storm whispered, guided, and even corrected their movements. Kael realized that the cosmic storm was not merely a force of destruction, it was a teacher, shaping them to meet the ultimate test. On the fourth night, as they approached the outer edge of the vortex, they discovered another child. He was crouched on a cliff, his body crackling with a strange green lightning that pulsed like living veins.
Kael approached cautiously.
You are Kael? The boy asked, his voice deep, resonant.
I am Ryan. The storm guided me here. We must join forces.
The heart of the storm is not only the origin of our powers, it is a nexus. The shadows seek to corrupt it, to consume the source itself. If they succeed, all life will be extinguished. Kael felt a shiver of fear. But looking at Ryan, then at Lira, Lyra, and Thalen, he knew there was no turning back. Together, they would face whatever waited in the heart of the storm. The night grew darker, the vortex closer. The wind screamed like a living being, and the shadows coiled around the peaks, ready to strike. Kael raised his hands, lightning dancing across his skin. Then we fight, he said. Not just to survive, but to protect the storm, and everything it has chosen to save. And in that moment, the storm pulsed, A living heartbeat in the night sky, acknowledging its children. The wind shrieked like 1,000 voices as Kael and the children reached the edge of the vortex. The air shimmered with raw energy, so thick it felt alive, pressing against them like a tangible force. The heart of the storm pulsed ahead, a colossal swirl of violet, black, and blue energy that radiated both wonder and terror. "This is it," Lira said, her silver hair whipping violently in the storm winds. "The source of our power, and the center of the shadow's corruption. Step carefully. One misstep and the storm could tear you apart." Kael felt his chest tighten. The energy hummed in resonance with him, calling, testing, pushing. He glanced at his companions. Syrah's fire burned steady and strong, Thalen's lightning crackled, and Ryan's green arcs shimmered like veins of life. They were ready, or as ready as anyone could be. The first step into the vortex was like entering another world. The air crackled and throbbed with power, shifting reality around them. Shadows surged from the center, massive and incomprehensible, forming shapes that seemed to bend the storm itself. The children moved as one, striking with synchronized precision. Lightning, fire, and green energy collided with the darkness, slicing and burning, but the shadows were relentless. A massive shadow rose from the heart of the storm, taller than any peak, eyes like voids of nothingness. It spoke, a voice like tearing metal and screaming wind. "Children, you were born to fail. The storm is mine to consume." Kael felt a surge of fear, but he pushed it down, grounding himself in the rhythm of the storm. "No," he whispered. "The storm chose us. It is alive, it will guide us." He reached out with his hands, feeling the energy flow around him. The storm responded, brighter and more intense than ever. Lightning arced, wind rose into protective currents, and the very ground beneath the shadows trembled. Syrah and Thalen struck together, forming a barrier of fire and lightning that clashed with the massive shadow. Ryan sent bolts of green energy that cut deep, while Lyra's control over the storm guided their attacks, coordinating them like a symphony. Kael realized something crucial. The battle wasn't about brute force. It was about harmony. The children had to move as one with the storm, letting it guide their powers, blending them together into a force the shadows could not withstand. He closed his eyes and focused, letting the storm speak to him. He felt the pulse of the energy, the rhythm of the wind, the surge of lightning. He raised his hands, not to strike, but to channel. A vortex of combined energy formed around them, a shield and spear, barrier and weapon, all at once. It surged outward, striking the massive shadow at the heart of the storm. The creature screamed, a sound that ripped through the vortex, but it could not withstand the children's unified power. It began to dissolve, and as it did, the smaller shadows scattered, retreating into nothingness. The storm pulsed, brighter now, alive in celebration and relief. Kael opened his eyes. The heart of the storm shimmered, peaceful for the first time in centuries. He felt it speak, not in words, but in energy and sensation, gratitude, trust, and recognition. "You have done it," Lira said softly, awe in her voice. "The storm is whole again. And so are you, children of the cosmic storm." Kael looked at his companions, exhausted but triumphant. They had faced the darkness and prevailed. He understood now that the storm had chosen them not just for their power, but for their courage, their unity, and their willingness to listen. The vortex began to calm, the violent winds softening, lightning fading into a gentle glow. Kael felt the energy of the storm flow through him, steady and warm, and he knew that they had not just survived, they had become something greater than themselves. The shadows were gone. For now, peace returned to Arivor. But Kael knew the storm would never truly sleep, and that one day, it might call upon them again. And when it did, they would be ready. Standing together, the children of the cosmic storm gazed at the renewed energy of their world, knowing that they were no longer ordinary beings. They were the guardians, the chosen, and the hope of all who dwelled beneath the stormy skies. The storm had calmed, leaving Arivor beneath skies painted with soft violet and silver light. The once raging winds now whispered gently across the peaks, carrying a sense of peace that had not been felt for centuries. Kael and the other children stood at the edge of the northern peaks, watching as the heart of the storm pulsed steadily, alive but serene. "It's beautiful," Syrah whispered, her fire dimming to a warm glow. "Yes," Kael agreed, feeling the energy flowing calmly through him. "But it's more than beauty. It's alive, it trusts us now." Lyra smiled. "The storm will always be a part of you. And as long as you remember unity, courage, and balance, it will continue to guide and protect Arivor. Thalen stepped forward, his storm-blue eyes scanning the horizon. The shadows may have been defeated, but the world is still fragile. It will take time to rebuild, and we must help the people understand that the storm is not to be feared, it is a force of life, and they are its children as well.
Kael nodded.
He looked down at the valley below, where smoke had vanished, and life was slowly returning. Villagers emerged from their homes, wary but hopeful. They had witnessed the children's power, and their fear had turned into awe. Kael realized that they were not just protectors, they were symbols, bridges between the storm and the people. The pendant around Kael's neck pulsed softly, as if echoing the heartbeat of the storm. He knew it was not merely a tool, but a reminder of responsibility, courage, and connection. "Where do we go from here?" Ryan asked, his green lightning now calm, like gentle currents. Kael looked at his companions. Sira, Thalen, Lira, and Ryan, they were not just allies, they were family, bound by the storm. "We guide," Kael said. "We protect. And we teach others to listen to the storm, as it has guided us. The shadows may return someday, or some new threat may arise, but together, we can face anything." The children spent the following weeks helping the villagers rebuild, repairing the land and restoring hope. Kael taught them to sense the energy around them, to respect it, and to live in harmony with the storm rather than in fear. Slowly, Arivor began to heal, the storm becoming a force of life, not terror. One evening, as Kael stood atop a cliff watching the sun set through violet clouds, he felt a gentle touch of lightning across his skin.
The storm whispered, calm and steady. He smiled. He was no longer a boy unsure of his powers.
He was a child of the cosmic storm, a guardian chosen to protect, to lead, and to keep the balance. "Thank you," he whispered, not to anyone in particular, but to the storm itself, for choosing him, for testing him, and for trusting him. The wind carried his words into the mountains, into the valleys, and across the skies. The storm raged softly, not with destruction, but with life. And somewhere deep within its heart, the children of the cosmic storm stood ready, united, and unafraid. Kael turned to his companions, their faces illuminated by the calm glow of the storm. "The storm chose us," he said. "But together, we will choose how to protect it, and how to protect our world." And with that, the children of the cosmic storm stepped forward, their powers intertwined, their hearts bound by courage, unity, and hope, ready to face whatever the cosmos would send next.
The storm above Arivor was no longer a threat. It was a promise.